Pocket Monsters, otherwise known as Pokémon, the highest grossing media franchise in the entire world. It's managed to take over both the East and the West, garnering immense popularity between kids and adults alike. From its wide popularity, Pokémon have also spread their reach towards other aspects of media. Spin-off titles, movies, anime, trading card games, mobile games, live-action movies, and of course, the main topic of this video, manga. In all of these media, Pokémon has successfully managed to enter and make a name for themselves, with their TCG arguably being the most popular TCG in the world, and their mobile game Pokémon Go being a global phenomenon in 2016. The anime and movies have also done a good job at standing out, with a lot of children growing up watching the anime and some having it be their gateway to the Pokémon franchise. However, the Pokémon manga has always been the odd child in the franchise, always being a couple steps behind and also failing to meet expectations compared to its Pokémon media siblings, with some fans not even knowing about it other than a few facts from the first volume. Now, you may be wondering, why is this the case anyway? Why is Pokémon, the biggest media franchise in the entire world that even started with its creation in Japan, failing in the manga industry? Well, let's talk about it. Pokémon have had many manga over the years, with some being more notable than others, but in this video I'll only be specifically talking about Pokémon Adventures / Special. However, I am aware of the existence of other Pokémon manga, such as Pokémon Rebirth and the Electric Tale of Pikachu, but as Adventures is the most popular, I'll be choosing to cover that. So, Pokémon Adventures or Pokémon Special in Japan is a manga series written by Hidenori Kusaka. It was originally illustrated by Mato, but is currently illustrated by Satoshi Yamamoto. The series started production in the year of 1997, the year after the first Pokémon games, Pokémon Red and Pokémon Green. The series started its story with the Red, Green and Blue arc. This arc acted as a loose adaptation of the first 3 Generation 1 games. The sales of this first arc are unknown, just like the rest of the series, but it did well enough to garner a sequel, in the form of the Yellow arc. This arc started right after the first one concluded in the year of 1998. As evidenced by the title, it is a loose adaptation of the Pokémon Yellow games. This story was even more original than the first arc, with having the Elite Four act as villains. This pattern of production would repeat itself over many years, with each new Pokémon game getting its own arc in the adventure storyline, just like how the anime and spin-offs work too. The reason this is done is to support and promote the new games. However, if we look at this production timeline created by Solex, we can clearly see as new Pokémon games started getting released faster and faster, the manga would start to struggle to keep up, with the Ruby and Sapphire arc being interrupted by the start of the Fire Red and Leaf Green arc before the prior could finish, forcing the author to have to interlink the stories in a way that doesn't end up being too confusing. These release time issues become very noticeable when the Black and White 2 arc begins, then goes on hiatus a few months after, so that the X and Y arc and Oris arc can both start. This led to all 3 arcs being serialized at the same time, and all 3 of them being weaker in result. Heck, the Black and White 2 arc ended its serialization all the way in 2022, which is pretty crazy all things considered. When looking at the chronological timeline, we can see remakes such as Oras come way before games such as Diamond and Pearl, due to the story not working out otherwise. So now, you may be thinking, the reason why the manga's failing is because time constraints, creating weaker stories. Well, no, not exactly. The manga is definitely struggling due to these time constraints, with later arcs feeling incredibly rushed, but ultimately that's not the reason why the series is not garnering the popularity it could and realistically should have. The real reason why the Pokémon manga is failing is due to a simple word, and that word is promotion. Promotion, as we all know, is a crucial part of any product's success, whether it's manga, games, movies or more. Most people actually know of this manga due to promotion, however not by official Pokémon company, instead by YouTubers who have covered it. And if I'm being honest, they haven't done the best job at covering it, making the series seem like it's just an edgy story, when in all seriousness it's just a single panel of an Arbok getting sliced. That didn't even die, by the way. That aside, when it comes to Pokemon, their promotion is usually unavoidable, which can seem annoying but ultimately is great marketing. If you want to watch a new episode of the Pokemon anime live in Japan, you'll get one advert on the TCG, one advert on how there will be a special teaser for the new anime at the end of the episode, another ad on the TCG, and then another ad on the TCG, an ad on Pokemon Bread, an ad on a Pokemon education book, an ad on Pokemon arcade games, an ad on Pokemon toys, and lastly, an ad of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. These adverts would go on rotation, and sometimes they would advertise other Pokemon media, but you get the point. Pokemon's advertisement and marketing game is on point, on everything but the manga. If you head to Google and search a Pokemon manga advert, you'll notice nothing exists, because they don't promote the manga. So if you create something and don't promote it, add 2 and 2 together and you'll have a failure. Of course this isn't always the case, but more often than not. On the series' Bulbapedia page, you can see how it's mentioned that Satoshi Tajiri, the literal creator of Pokemon, said, "This is the comic that most resembles the word I was trying to convey." And Ishihara said he wants every Pokemon fan to read it. These statements are fine and good, but it ultimately means nothing if you're not going to promote the series properly. If you create a product, call it good once, and then expect it to sell well, it's just not going to happen. By this point in the video, I'm probably sounding like a broken record, and you all understand my point. So with that said, I hope I've answered the question of how Pokemon failed at conquering the manga industry. If you enjoyed this video, thanks a lot for watching, and make sure to subscribe for more videos like this, as well as more content on the Pokemon manga, as it would be nice for the community to grow some more. Now then, take care.